Hello, I'm Linda Eskin. I'm a second Q student at Aikido of San Diego. Two podcasts helped guide me to the practice of Aikido, and early in my practice, there were some DVDs that very much helped me understand what I was seeing and hearing, and those podcasts and DVDs featured George Ledyard Sensei, who's here with us today. He's a sixth Dan at Aikido Eastside in Bellevue, Washington. That's just outside Seattle. Ledyard Sensei is here with us in Sacramento, leading a weekend intensive seminar at Two Rivers Budo. Thank you for being here with us and speaking with me today, Sensei.
Thank you.
Got a few questions for you. First, what do you find is exciting in Aikido now?
Well, right now Aikido, in America especially, is going through a lot of changes. I think that the advent of the internet, the fact that there's a whole generation of people who have now been training from between 35 and 40 years, some even more than that, that's led to some real interchange because not just Aikido people have been doing that, but there have been people in other related arts, Aiki-related arts like Daitoryu or internal power training. There's a whole bunch of people who now are up at, what I would think of as Shihan level in their training. And unlike what was happening when I was young in my training, where people, kind of stayed with their teachers and their organizations, there really wasn't much cross-pollination. Now there is actually a lot. There's a whole group of people in the Aikido community who are working on internal power training. There's a whole group of people who have discovered Sistema, which is a Russian martial art that's quite interesting and is quite compatible with Aikido. There are some Daitoryu teachers like Howard Popkin Sensei who trained for years with very high-level people, who Japanese teachers, and are now out teaching. And these people are all willing to share what they know with the Aikido community. And it's really allowing the Aikido people to get a window on, the creative side of Aikido, things that maybe haven't been there that could be there. But I think especially there were things there that, perhaps before World War II, when O-Sensei was younger and there were a very small number of people training with him, there were aspects of that Aikido that really didn't survive the war, that really didn't become part of post-war Aikido. And everybody I've talked to who knew the founder agrees that none of the students got more than a portion of what he knew. He was really quite legendary. And it was very difficult to even access that. Most of us never trained with the founder, whatever. And how are we going to pursue O-Sensei's Aikido when most people didn't really have a very good sense of what his Aikido was? I was lucky to train with Mitsuki Saotome Sensei, who spent 15 years training with the founder, and I think is, in my mind, is one of the very best of the post-war generation. I was lucky to just stumble on him in Washington, D.C. in 1976, and I've been training with him ever since. And, the way he taught us was largely the way he was taught by the founder. There really wasn't much in the way of instruction. You took ukemi, you trained with him. We all trained 6-7 days a week like maniacs, and you learned it through osmosis, really. And I don't think that that's necessarily the best way. The modern student is not training 6-7 days a week. Most people, if you're lucky, a serious student trains 3 times a week. Most people are way too busy, have too much going on in their lives. I have very few students that remind me of me in my younger days. And so I think that the instructional methodology that transmitted Aikido kind of led to very big gaps in the skill levels in the training. And there are people floating around now who are not necessarily Aikido people, but they can fill in some of those gaps. And there's a lot of cross training happening right now with that way. But the people who have are really doing some, I think, extraordinary things. And there's a lot more Aiki in the Aikido that's happening now than there was 10 years ago.
Thank you.